Right. Um, we can start off in another 2 minutes, but meanwhile, I will just take the time to introduce Marco. So we have Marco here for this week's workshop. Marco is the DAO lead at Polygon, and really excited to have him on board here for the week 5 of our beginner track fellows. We also have our beginner track fellows over here as well, who are who have joined in to learn more about DAOs, get some more perspective, maybe have some questions even on those lines. And Marco, just to set some context here, this is the 5th week for the beginner track of the fellowship. Each week we have sort of helped them focus on one arena of the ecosystem. Week 1 was a general overview for all the various parts of the ecosystem, like NFTs, DeFi, DAOs. And then week after that, we started with smart contracts. Then we did a deep dive of DeFi. We also covered infra and storage last week, and this week it's totally going to be about DAOs. And really excited to have you here to help them sort of get a better insight on how DAO works. And I think some folks over here whom I've already talked to have some ideas on DAO tooling. So I think this would be a really insightful workshop slash session for them. And while they have had a very brief intro on DAOs by Stephanie, they would also be learning a lot more in this workshop. So I think we can start. Over to you, Marco.
Okay, thank you. So, well, welcome everyone. As Aniket said, my role is DAO lead on Polygon. DAO lead means that I'm taking care of all the initiatives that are related to DAOs on the Polygon space, and I support Polygon on building the DAOs we are collaborating with, we are partnering with, and especially I am supporting, building, and leading the Polygon DAO. This is something that during our session I will explain more and more, and of course I will do my best to have some times at the end where you could ask me questions if there is something that is not clear and so on. I understand that Stephanie gave an introduction on DAO, and I can tell you that she is very aware about the spaces, so everything that she told you is 100% true, clear, and I agree with everything that she said. We have sometimes some sessions about DAOs inside Polygon, all the Polygon teams, because Polygon really cares about the DAO space and the tooling space. So back to what you were saying, Aniket, about people that are engaging with DAO toolings. We are, and I am especially very fond of DAO toolings, because I think that toolings at the end will give the chance to many new entities, companies, organization in the future to build and to structure everything in a new way that hopefully will be better than the one that we are living now, and not in the crypto space. I will try to share my screen. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. Okay, let me know if it is something that could be seen.
Yep, it's visible.
Okay, that's great. So I will start from here. So we are talking about DAOs on Polygon, and we are talking also about the progressive decentralization and the future of DAOs. Progressive decentralization that is not limited to the space, but also to Polygon and to Polygon initiative in the space. So to give you some context, this is the list of things that I will present you today. I will start with a very, very fast DAO timeline, some definition about DAOs. And even if every one of you knows what a DAO is, I will offer you my idea on what DAOs are and how we can actually say that we are talking about DAOs. So we will go on with Polygon and the DAO space, the DAOs and the DAO toolings that are actually already on Polygon. I will give you an intro about Polygon DAO and how Polygon DAO is engaging in the space with the new tooling that is called Polygon ID. and then how we are supporting the development of the space with our support program called Polygon Village. And then there will be a very brief what's next, because of course the future is still to be written, but we have some ideas on how everything could become in the future. So starting from a DAO timeline, it is nothing that you don't know. Well, we start from Vitalik talking about DAOs. We had the DAO hack that some people saw as the end of DAOs. We know that it was not. We had what we call the DAO proliferation, even if the proliferation that we are actually having now and the future is maybe 10 hundredths time bigger than the one that we could see from 2018 to the 21. But this period of 3 years is and will be always very important for the DAO space. What is a DAO? Well, a DAO right now, in my opinion, and not just my opinion, of course, is a generic term. It's become a generic term. And there are many definitions of DAOs, as many as there are use cases. And if we start from what Vitalik was saying, you can just have a DAO to be a DAO. You need a DAO to do something, meaning that without a clear use case, without doing something, it is meaningless to have an organization, an entity, and so you don't have a DAO. I like to start from 3 concepts that Ethereum.org summarize when talk about DAOs. So a DAO is a member-owned community without centralized leadership, and this is what we call governance. DAO also is a safe way to collaborate with internet strangers, and it's a great definition, internet stranger, but anyway, and it is what we call coordination. And it is also a safe place to commit funds or values, could be also ethical values if we're talking about NFTs, to a specific cause, and this is shared ownership. By combining those 3 concepts of governance, coordination, and shared ownership, we can achieve all the different use cases of DAOs. Main use cases that we have now are protocol DAOs, of course, investment DAOs, Grand DAO, social community DAOs, media NFT DAOs, creators, service, curators, real estate, and cultural DAOs. I will add one use case that I'm very fond of, because the Polygon DAO I will present to you later is covering this use case, and it is the ecosystem DAO. But later on, I will give you the definition of an ecosystem DAO. The DAOs have many pain points now, not just now. We are talking about the same pain points since years. And those pain points are very important because it is where we can start to find the best way to solve issues and to build something that will make our future better. We start from the battle of plutocracy and meritocracy, meaning that a token-based governance system tend to misalign incentives between contributors and token holders, favoring plutocracy over meritocracy. Doesn't mean that I think and we think that token-based governance is flawed or is problematic. It has many great use cases. If you have a protocol DAO, if you have a company, if you have any kind of organization where a token can be represented as a share, well, a token-based governance is great. And it is actually the best way to engage with the DAO. But if we are talking about a media DAO, an NFT DAO, and an NFT that is not an investment DAO, if we're talking about a community DAO especially, a token-based governance at the end will just see the richest being able to control the decision of everyone. And also many people do not agree that a community could be owned because you have more money or tokens. The DAO space, we have immature governance tool because it is just the beginning of this journey. Every DAO has a different use case and consequently different governance tooling needs. Those needs are still to be addressed most of the time. Also, we can see some of the most used governance tooling as Snapshot. They are not even on chain. Snapshot is off chain, but everyone tends to use Snapshot. And I think that Snapshot is a great project. There is safety of centralization, meaning that it is easier to execute and bring products to market in a centralized setting than in a decentralized one, because the coordination part and the governance part are not so easy to achieve now. Everything is also watering down the concept of DAO, as I was saying at the beginning when I was mentioning that DAO is a generic term most of the time, because due to an increase in popularity, the centralized governance lacks clarity. But it's not just governance, it's also how much an entity should be decentralized in order to call it a DAO, and not just this. That's why I use DAO as a very generic term in order to cover all the thousands of shades that a decentralization could be seen in an organization right now. Take note that as in 2015, 16, 17, everything was called crypto, and now it is not more. There is no more mentioning of a crypto word. Probably the DAO word will disappear later on to be replaced by more precise words defining every different organization and entity. Another big pain point is always onboarding new members, because onboarding new members is complex. It requires a lot of efforts, and the organization at the organizational and also educational level, as well in defining new methods of engagement. And this engagement is what takes us to the next pain point, the new participant involvement. New members fail to find their own role within DAOs and often drift away from actively contributing and also participating in governance, especially after the bear market that started a few weeks ago. Well, we can see how the actual participation in governance fall completely. And we have numbers that are telling us that at the end, few people on many DAOs are voting. Most of them just disappear, just are not linked anymore to this space. And we have a missing legal framework. Many different use cases need their own legislative framework. We're thinking about investment DAOs, for example. In order to make it work, we need a legal framework. And at the end, we have also a problem related to the treasury. The token-based governance model is always at the mercy of market downturns, as the one that we are experiencing now. And many DAOs do not implement treasury management policies. And we can see it in most of the DAOs around, where their own treasury just quite disappeared because they were mostly based on their own token. What Polygon is doing in the DAO space? Well, Polygon strongly believes in the development of new organizational and coordination forms in the Web3 space and wants to actively contribute to the growth and innovation. It is something that Polygon keeps doing with not just with the BD team, but also with the tech teams. Everyone is looking to support the ecosystem growth and to decentralize more and more. But for this decentralization, let's see, it is something that needs new governance, needs education, it needs strong toolings. So the progressive decentralization process is at the base of all Polygon actions in the DAO space, and it is aimed at identifying innovative use cases and at setting up disruptive initiatives in partnership with leading exponents of the Web 2 and the Web 3 world. We can see it in the gaming space. We can see it of course, in the DAO space, but we can see it on the protocol space and many, many others. We can see it on the NFT space too. And Polygon is strongly committed to the growth of the DAO and the DAO space and everything around it. A Polygon team also is involved in exploring new forms of governance and supporting the development of DAO toolings. Take note that inside Polygon, there is not just the DAO team, the one that I'm leading, but there is also a governance team that is taking care of finding the best governance and suggesting it on all the different, let's call them, products of Polygon. So it's a continuous way of studying, on experimenting and innovating in this field. One of the best, biggest contribution that Polygon did for the DAO tooling up to now has been Polygon ID. And I will give you some more details about Polygon ID later on. Right now, I can tell you that I know that many of you are already aware of it, but it is a sovereign identity solution, and it is based on zero-knowledge cryptographic proofs. It allows to move from the token-based DAO governance that I was mentioning before to one based on identity, so Sybil resistant identity, and reputation. Reputation because Polygon ID also is able to create claims, reputational claims. A claim could be you are part of a Polygon DAO, for example. And that's why we think that the reputation is a good way to identify members of the DAO instead of just holding tokens or even an NFT, because Polygon ID is a solution that goes beyond the current forms of the digital identity and the reputation based on NFTs. Polygon ID is secure and is private, while an NFT is always visible. This is one of the biggest differences. Let's talk about the DAO ecosystem and environment on Polygon. Well, starting from the DAOs, there are many DAOs that are present on Polygon today, and I can tell you that dozens of them are added to the list every single week. There are so many DAO launchers, there are many frameworks that are built on Polygon, just to, well, DAO House and Aragon are just two of them that could give you the chance to start a DAO on Polygon very fast. And some DAOs have migrated their governance token to Polygon. Others have been founded there. To give you some names, names that you all, of course, already know, we have Chi DAO, Syndicate DAO, Bankless DAO, Klima DAO, Human DAO are some of the most famous. Some of them started on Polygon and some migrated at least part of their governance token and their governance token. There are several reasons that push DAOs to move or to be launched on Polygon. And those reasons are, some of those reasons are the same that really are pushing many projects to start on Polygon instead of other chains. Well, first of all, the low cost of transactions. As we know, Polygon transaction cost is very, very low. Polygon is fully EVM compatible, so it is very easy to deploy a token or a smart contract. Also, you can find many repositories, and it is very easy to fork, of course, for devs. Polygon is very notorious. So the notoriety of the chain and the ethos of Polygon right now is known to everyone in the space. Polygon is very popular right now, and everyone knows that it is very supportive. It is there to help projects to start and to build. There is also a presence of a vibrant DAOs and DAO tooling ecosystem, an ecosystem that will grow over time in order to make this space even more fascinating and interesting for all the new DAOs and toolings that will start in the future. There are dozens of projects that will join Polygon, that are joining Polygon every week, not just DAOs. Another very important point for DAOs and toolings to start on Polygon is the existence of a development support program that is called Polygon Village. Polygon support program is Polygon Village, and right now is handled by the Polygon DAO, because Polygon DAO is related to the ecosystem, and a support program is dedicated to the ecosystem. Also, most of the projects are looking to talk with a team, to be able to reach them. And the presence of a strong and committed team as the Polygon team to support them is extremely important and interesting for them. Polygon teams are always there to help all the time. I can assure you how many, I don't know how many Telegram channels, Discord channels, and Slack channels we have. We all, the project that wants to build and to be supported in Polygon. And this human touch, because at the end, it is also the presence of human touch is very important for most of the projects. There's also many DAO toolings on Polygon. And to be one of the places of choice for the birth of new DAOs, an ecosystem as Polygon must be able to host the best tools. And to date, hundreds of toolings are available on Polygon and are partnering with us. The most famous are the ones on this list. Well, if I tell you that there is Gnosis Safe, you know that it is easier to start a multi-sig. If there is Collabland, you can have a community DAO where you are able to distribute funds to all the community using Discord. There is Superfluid, there is DWork for example, for all the dashboard, for all the bounty board. There is Guild XYZ as boardroom entirely to give the idea of what is happening over on the network. We have Unstoppable Domains that is integrating more and more with DAOs. The latest big tools that arrived last week was announced is Syndicate DAO. But then there are Aragon, DAO House, Moloch, Snapshot, Commonwealth, and so on, as well as all the main treasury management dApps around, as CoinShip, Parcel Money, as Llama, and also Utopia. I will start to give you an idea of what Polygon DAO is, because it is very important for the space of Polygon space right now to have a partner that will become more and more independent and neutral to the ecosystem, wanting to represent the ecosystem. And this will be actually once we will be able to delegate the governance and so on. This will be the house of everyone that is and will be in the network. So Polygon DAO is an ecosystem DAO. An ecosystem DAO means many things. First of all, it means that Polygon DAO is not just related to one use case, but to many use cases. Polygon DAO is a grant DAO, is a community DAO, is an investment DAO, and many more use cases are there and will come in later. An ecosystem DAO also means that Polygon is representing the Polygon ecosystem and wants to be the face of the ecosystem. A Polygon DAO, anyway, is the centerpiece of Polygon long-term strategy of progressively representing and decentralizing the ecosystem and turning over control to the community. It means that the aim of the Polygon DAO is to be able to represent the ecosystem and to make sure that the ecosystem will be able to take care of itself in the future. As part of this mission, Polygon DAO is building a neutral party to support the growth of the ecosystem that we are mentioning, the ecosystem built over all the Polygon networks. And Polygon DAO must nurture developers and community with necessary tools and programs and support DAO open source initiative. Polygon DAOs operate Polygon's main ecosystem growth support program, as I was saying before, called Polygon Village, a full stack ecosystem for developers to build and grow on Polygon. Support to the devs comes in many different forms, including grants, a voucher program, mentoring support, expert talks, projects introduction, community involvement, exposure to the communities, marketing, visibility, and also validation. Validation means that partnering with the Polygon DAO means the Polygon DAO took the time to review the projects and could see that it is legit. And those projects, all those projects now can go back to the communities and tell them that they are actually here to build and to engage the community to do something new with them. There are some Polygon DAO assumptions. A Polygon DAO is ecosystem-centric for everyone to participate in the growth of the Polygon ecosystem. Another assumption is the progressive decentralization to delegate and decentralize functions and also roles to the communities. Polygon DAO is looking to an innovative governance, something that will change over time, that will be able to adapt and evolve. Right now, will be built around Polygon ID, that is an identity and reputation layer. We would like to achieve a fair distribution of decision-making power, empowering ecosystem participants, meaning individuals, but also projects. The DAO would like to offer new forms of incentives based on identity, based on belonging and education. Of course, there will be also financial rewards, but this is something that at the end, it is becoming and will become less important in the next phase, probably. And the DAO, as I was saying, is always very, very engaged with DAO toolings, with innovative toolings, pushing for new open source composable and permissionless solutions. And to support the ecosystem, to ensure high-level support to all the builders through the Polygon Village. Polygon DAO key objects are to build a neutral party that I was saying, to delegate and decentralize, to represent the ecosystem, to be able to start the network effect I was mentioning before, the network effect that can come when projects are able to talk with other projects, small ones with bigger ones, to create a new form of collaboration between all the participants of the ecosystem. Of course, to evangelize devs and communities to Polygon and to Ethereum, to support DAO and DAO tooling open source initiative, and at the end, to onboard the next thousands of projects on Polygon. A very short introduction to Polygon ID, even if Polygon ID is a great, great product. It's a project that we think will last and will become very important for the ecosystem. As I was presenting it before, it's a decentralized, self-sovereign and private identity solution. And it is developed following some vision and guiding principles. It is private by default, so everything is protected and nothing related to the data of the user are never shared. It is based on trust and reputation, based on ZK proofs, meaning that at the end, what will be confirmed, it will be confirmed based on that, on the Merkle tree, and not the real and actual data of the people. It is decentralized because everyone will be always in control, full control of the identity, the personal data, and the reputation claim. And it is open and permissionless, and in order to make it a standard and to let more devs to build on top of it. What kind of governance the Polygon DAO is able to use with Polygon, to start with Polygon ID? Well, using Polygon ID means detaching DAO members on-chain activity from their decision-making identity. The decision will not be related to a Ethereum wallet, a Polygon wallet, but it will be related to a Polygon ID reputational claim, something that will indicate that there is an identity, completely private, that is expressing a vote. There is also no compromise on verifiability. Governance-related activities, such as voting, will be verifiable and are and will be verifiable online. On-chain, sorry. While the claim is verifiable on-chain, the data itself remains fully private. And through the use of Polygon ID and reputation-based governance, Polygon ecosystem will be better equipped to look after its own needs in the future, giving the chance to the DAOs to progressively decentralize in a new way. I was talking about Polygon Village before as a support program, and starting from today, July 11th, we are also starting the Polygon Village support for DAOs and DAO tooling program. It is something that is completely dedicated to DAO toolings and DAOs willing to move or to start on Polygon. A DAO Village is composed of about bounty board, of an ecosystem job board, of grants, share grants, welcome vouchers, and expert talks. And it is something that is actually having a lot of success in the space right now. What's next? Well, DAOs are new organizational and participatory forms with multiple use cases, and Polygon evaluates them with great interest and identify them as fundamental for the evolution of Web3 and beyond. And well, I can actually say that there are dozens of Web2, if we want to call them like these, companies that are reaching us, all the Polygon teams, asking about DAOs, asking about to evolve on something that could be similar to a DAO. So we think that this space will actually evolve over time. DAOs hold the promise of a new framework organization and entities can use to build in novel and dynamic ways, combining top-down with bottom-up elements. This is very important for the new companies, the new organization that we are seeing growing in the space. And the Polygon DAO envisions a future populated by countless new DAOs, decentralized entities, based on present and future generation of DAO toolings, built, as I was saying before, in a composable and interoperable way to enable the construction of an open framework ecosystem. What does it mean? It means that we will have more and more use cases, far more the ones that I listed before. And also, even in the same use case, there will be thousands of different companies, organization, entities, each one with a different way to build, a different way to be built. And instead of finding 50, 100 different frameworks they will be able to use, if we will achieve all together to have a DAO tooling environment that will be composable, built on composable part, and will be interoperable, well, there could be an infinite number of frameworks, each one dedicated to one precise use case and entity. And it will be also the best way to achieve a big freedom for devs to build without being co-opted inside big software houses. And when I mention DAO tooling, I mean the next kind of software that will be able to run the future companies and organizations. Polygon NAD and Polygon DAO so invite all builders to try their hand at the conception and construction of this future ecosystem, promising to always provide the highest level of support as we're doing now with the Polygon Village. What to build? I know that it is not exactly what we are here to talk about, maybe yes, but what to build is something that could be understood just knowing the ecosystem. So to know what to build, it is necessary to explore the ecosystem, study the most prominent projects, engage with DAOs communities, and to find what the space needs and will need in the future. This is exactly the way on doing DAOs and participating of DAOs. So being able to understand on the ground, what are the next pain points, what are the organizational and the governance problems that are arising over time. So, but anyway, I hope that every one of you, is more aware of what Polygon is building on the DAO space, and I'm happy to reply to all the questions that you could have. Thank you.
That is really amazing. Thanks a lot, Marco, for such a great dive into DAOs. Folks, feel free to turn on your cameras and ask questions. And in case you're not able to unmute yourself, you can also put it in the chat. Happy to read it out to Marco.
Hey Marco, Jayesh here. I wanted to ask a few questions, starting with everyone while talking about DAOs mentions like the DAO incident or the DAO hack. So like it's talked about, but like for me, I haven't able to understand what's the main takeaway from that we should keep in mind, because everyone talks about it. I don't know just why.
Well, I would say that the DAO hack, the DAO incident is something related to the past. And it is something that actually stopped the evolution of DAOs for a lot, because everyone was thinking that a decentralized governance could actually be harmful for everyone and for Treasury. What I usually say that well, we have a pretty precise definition of what a DAO is, but it is never indicated that a smart contract should do everything. An organization is based on humans. And so everything that should be put as a used, the use that you should have for smart contract is something that should always give the chance to humans, to participants, to engage one to each other. Also in other forms of governance, more humans based on dialogue. So while every one of us know that a blockchain is here to create trust between the people that are an organization that are not able to find trust in another way, a DAO is here to help them to organize, to coordinate, and to share something. When you abuse of what you have, and using too many smart contracts could be seen as an abuse, while we know that even with auditing, sometimes a smart contract could be really exploited. So knowing that there are some tools that can be used, there are some ways that can be where you can use a lot of smart contract, a lot of automation, a lot of tokens and so on, without actually harming the community that is represented or the organization that they represented. Going without a minimal sense of responsibility, and without thinking that everything will be solved because there is a smart contract. Well, I mean, the DAO hack is here to say that a smart contract could be compromised, while human coordination made in the best way cannot be compromised so easily. So humans should oversight everything that is done on the automation side, building in the best way to create, to solve real problems and not just to innovate for innovation.
Got it. Thank you.
I have another question for you. So right now, I have an idea with DAO tooling, and many people over here have ideas with DAO tooling. So, what do you recommend is the best way to get that idea validated from other DAOs, and it's like they would go ahead and use that product? And just continuing to that question is that there was a list of problems that you mentioned. What do you think is the most pressing problem that DAOs face today?
I will start from the end. There are so many problems and pain points because there are so many different use cases. If you have a protocol DAO or an investment DAO, most of the time you don't have issues with the community, because at the end you could have a DAO made of 10 people. You don't need to engage with people. And also on the governance side, well, you could actually be very happy on the form of governance that you can find. I think that the most pressing ones are always related to coordination. Human coordination between the people that are actually engaged in a DAO. This is, in my opinion, very important. I think that also how everyone should be represented and vote, it's important. But as I was saying, well, it depends on the use case. On the first part of the other question, how you could interact. Well, I would say that we started the Polygon Village support program for DAO toolings, not just for DAO toolings that are already there with an existing proof of concept and so on. Even if, of course, the bandwidth is not infinite for any one of us, we are actually building a team that is able to interact more and more with all the builders, because we think that the builders and not the projects itself are the most important resource in the space, because one builder will be able to build dozens of projects if he wants, while one project could be just abandoned at one point. So I would say that reaching the Polygon village through the new DAO form that will be presented today or tomorrow, it's the best way to go on. And of course, me, myself, and all the team will be always happy to engage with conversation with everyone that is building DAO toolings on Polygon. And what we will give you is not just this, but we are going to start a big way to engage and meet all the main participants, meaning DAOs, DAO tooling project, the big ones, because we think that exposure to new ideas, to new projects is the best way to see the ecosystem growing and thriving. And of course, I will share the presentation later on.
Thanks a lot, Marco.
Oh, in order to reply to the question that I can read here, well, we are supporting many multi-chain projects. So the question was, does Polygon Village provide support for DAO tooling built exclusively on top of Polygon? In case of DAOs, we asked DAOs to have their governance on Polygon, meaning could be based on NFTs, on ID, or on tokens. That should be on Polygon. And while for DAO toolings, well, we would like to see a bigger effort on the Polygon side, on the Polygon chain, even if going multi-chain. Usually, and it is something that I didn't present in the slides, I use an analogy for the ecosystem and for DAOs. As many in the space are doing the same, I see an ecosystem DAO and an ecosystem as a country. And a country is made of, well, usually started in a centralized way with the fathers of the country, and then it become decentralized when citizens are able to vote. And this is the journey that we are actually doing right now. But in a decentralized ecosystem, in a country, well, we can see that we can expand the analogy, saying that there are many countries, each one is a different chain. Well, from a Polygon perspective, we would like to see the head offices of new industries, new companies based on the Polygon country. But of course, we know that everyone will try and go on the other chain to, well, increase the number of the customers, increase the number of the users, increase also the gains, everything that could be sold. It could be sold there. So this is the main, the best way to reply to it. If you're a DAO, you should have the governance based on Polygon. If you're a tooling, you should have Polygon should become your most interested place where to build. It was mentioned that Polygon ID separates on-chain activity from decision-making activities. Why is it necessary? Well, it depends. We see our identity on a daily basis as a sum of private and public parts, public reputation, private reputation, and so on. Voting in a country during an election is not something that should be public. It should be private. I should be able to exercise my right to vote without saying what I am voting for. And on the blockchain, you cannot do it. Right now, you can vote, of course, with your wallet, but your wallet in some way, well, especially if you are using a ENS address or an unstoppable domain address, is something that could be easily understood who is voting, or going to do some researches, we know that it's not full anonymity, but it's just a partly anonymous way of doing things with a wallet. With Polygon ID, there is a big separation of it. You will be able to vote, and no one will ever know what you're voting for. And while right now, especially on the community DAO voting, it doesn't seem a very important issue, it could be an issue in the future. Also, on the reputational side, there are some reputational claims that every one of us are very, well, we accept that they are public. For example, if I am a part of a club, well, I don't have any problem to show, I don't know, my NFT as a membership badge. Now, sometimes you would like to be part of organization without disclosing it. And this is where a private identity and a private reputation could be useful. At the end, Polygon, and no one in Polygon is seeing the Polygon ID as the final way of expressing identity. But Polygon ID is actually solving a big problem, offering a solution to many use cases we were seeing. And while many could say, well, we can do it with an NFT too, it's true. We can have a reputation based on NFTs, and we can use this reputation to vote in DAOs. But back to what I was saying before, it won't be private. It will be always very visible who is voting for, and have an historic point of view of what this address, this NFT voted for. This is not something that should be allowed if you're voting for something important.
Got it. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, just one. Like, what could be like helping points for figuring out like missing pieces of the legal framework? Because that was an issue you mentioned. That's something I have wondered about. Will Polygon Village help us with that, or like are there better resources too?
Well, Polygon Village gives expert talks. Between the expert talks, there are lawyers that are able to answer the question. Because as I was saying, there are so many use cases, and there are so many ways to build a DAO from a legal point of view. And well, some of them are not covered right now, but they will be, that it is always better to talk with lawyers. And lawyers are very expensive, while Polygon Village give the chance to talk to lawyers and to listen to them without spending anything. Just to give an example, right now we have Swiss Foundation, we have Wyoming DAOs, we have Cayman, we have BVI, we have Panama, we have Singapore. We have so many ways to build DAOs, and are one very different to each other, and they depend at the end on what is the use case and where the DAO is built and what it should engage with.
Okay. And as you said, like access to the lawyers, like is this like just one-sided, or we can have like two-way communication with them?
No. It depends if if you are part of Polygon Village, you are selected to be part of Polygon Village. You could have a voucher, and it is what we call the service that is provided, paid at least in part by us, talking directly with a lawyer. So it is one-to-one communication, private, between you and the expert.
Okay, great. Thanks for telling.
It's not open to everyone. Every month there will be a selection of projects that will be actually selected to do it. And for the ones that presented and they were not selected anyway, they can go on and they can present a new request the next month. So because at the end we want to give back something to everyone, and explaining why a submission is not enough or is not good is a part of our way to support the ecosystem and to teach everyone how to build. If the operation can be performed without a token, then what can be the other incentive mechanisms for stakeholders? Well, the token mechanism, the token incentive was great during a bull market, and I'm sure that during the next bull market it will be great again, because everyone felt that could become, well, they could gain something, and because they were actually providing value to a DAO. Once the bear market started, we saw how all the governance tokens were immediately sent to the market and sold in big quantities, meaning that people were more interested on the speculation side than on the governance side of the DAO. There are different ways to incentivize people, and at the end, they always depend on the kind of use case that the DAO has. Just to give you an example, the Polygon DAO will go on building a strong community, but we decided to go on with a new kind of community right now because of the market condition, and because what people that are in this space and that are approaching a space are looking for, and it is understanding how to work in Web3, understanding how to become devs or marketers or project managers and so on. What we decided to do is to engage everyone, all the new members, on being part of a journey to work on Web3, meaning that we will engage them on a job board, we will engage them with projects that are looking for people, and we will engage them with educational support. This is the way that we see us as good players of the space. It means that the incentives that we are going to give is being able to improve life of people, not just distributing tokens. We are also distributing tokens, not right now because we suspended for a few weeks the bounty board, but we have the bounty board. So we have, and we will have especially, a lot of tasks that can be performed in order to support the DAO, support projects and so on, to gain some tokens. But those tokens won't be related to governance, and this is very important. You are working and then you are gaining something that will go directly to your pocket. It is not something that someone will pretend that you are gaining because you are having a bigger influence on the community that you are part of. The community wants people to be engaged with the community itself, to support it, to support its growth. And the more the people will support it, the higher will be their reputation. That's why we think a reputation model could be better than a token-based model. The best people around will be able maybe to have a bigger governance power over the DAO over time, and not just because you are able to buy more tokens.
Cool. I think that should resolve your query. Maybe we can take one last question as we are nearing the end. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you see combination of tokens plus Polygon ID-based solution?
There is one in the chat.
Yeah, I agree. This is exactly what I think it will be one of the most used governance ways to express governance. I think that reputation and tokens will be actually how the future governance will be done in most of the cases. We will have an identity, a stable identity, a Sybil-resistant identity that will just prove that you are a human, and a reputation that will say that you are part of the DAO, maybe a reputation that will give you some roles inside the DAO and give you some benefit perks, or maybe a higher way or bigger way to interact with the DAO. But if you will have tokens, and could be NFTs, of course, as fungible tokens, could be even tokens from other DAOs, for example, well, you could have a special way to interact with DAOs. We could have special ways to interact with governance decision. And it is exactly how I agree it will be in the future.
Cool. I think that's about it. All right. That's good. Is there let's just take this last thing up.
Yeah.
Is there a way to have?
As I was saying, we are going to start today this new line. And this inline dedicated DAO and DAO tooling will evolve in something similar to what Vaibhav just wrote. So being able to create safe places and meeting points where everyone will be able to talk about toolings, DAOs, and so on. Being able to grow in the space, to share ideas in a very open way, because at the end there are already, and there will be so many use cases, so many needs of toolings, that sharing ideas won't ever become something detrimental for your growth and for the growth of your projects.
Great. All right. Thanks a lot, Marco, for taking out the time and doing this amazing session. Quite informative. I also personally feel I've learned a thing or two from this. Really appreciate this. And fellows, I think this would be it for today's workshop. We'll have the recording on YouTube as well. I'm not sure if everyone has the link to the playlist, but I can just repost it on our Discord as well. Yeah, I think we can call it a wrap.
So thank you, everyone, and thank you for the question. Thank you for listening to me. And